Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today I would like to talk about how this idea of a Super Donkey Kong Odyssey for Nintendo Switch 2 might actually be happening. I think when we look back to everything about this Donkey Kong conversation, about some kind of game being made by the 3D Mario team, there might actually be something to it, and with the recent unveiling of the Nintendo Switch 2, and that little bit of Mario Kart footage they showed, including a new design for Donkey Kong in there, I think it is a sign for bigger things to come for Donkey Kong in the next generation on Nintendo Switch 2, and that's what I'd like to dive more deeply into today. But before going forward, let me take this moment to point out that I am aiming to reach 50,000 subscribers by the time the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out. So if you find yourself enjoying my content, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit that notification bell. So there have been rumors for a new Donkey Kong game being in the works for years at this point. And because it's been so much time, some people would like to think that there was nothing to these rumors. But I don't agree. I think there was actually something to these rumors. So let me first point out a story that has developed over the last couple years. Some of you may have heard about the reports about Vicarious Visions working on an open world Donkey Kong game. This team that had experience from the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series wanted to make a Donkey Kong game in an open world jungle setting where DK would be sliding through tree branches, kind of like how Tony Hawk would be sliding on rails with a skateboard, and also swinging through vines, kind of like Tarzan. Taking a look at this article here from GameRant, the original report points out that Vicarious Visions had been partnering with Nintendo to bring Nintendo characters including Donkey Kong to Skylanders Superchargers, including console-specific characters through Nintendo figurines that doubled as amiibos. This allegedly led to plans for a Switch game codenamed Donkey Kong Freedom, which would have been the titular ape swinging from and grinding on vines in an open-world format in an attempt to stop a factory and a dam from killing all the banana trees in the Kong's jungle. So some of you may have seen some of this fan-made footage for Donkey Kong Freedom. This is fan-made footage that I have here on screen for you, and because of this footage, when this story came out, some people thought it was just a fan-made project and that this rumor evolved from that, but it's actually in the opposite way. These rumors already existed, and then this footage was created to sort of show how it would look. Continuing my read-through of this article though, according to the original report from DK Vine, Vicarious Visions founders, Karthik and Guha Bala's exit from the company in 2016 spelled the beginning of the end for Donkey Kong Freedom. While the report states that the Bala brothers were interested in working with Nintendo and seemed to have a positive creative working relationship with Donkey Kong creator and longtime Nintendo director Shigeru Miyamoto, Activision then shifted Vicarious Visions in a new direction, instructing the studio to focus instead on the Crash Bandicoot N. Sane trilogy, which released in 2017. And so this story has been corroborated from multiple sources. There isn't really much doubt that this project existed, but this project was cancelled in the beginning of the Switch era. However, Shigeru Miyamoto, the father of Donkey Kong, was intrigued by this project. Nintendo themselves had an interest in this project, they wanted to see it go forward, and it's possible that maybe they would have walked away eventually, but at least in the beginning stages, Nintendo was not the reason why this project was cancelled. And so there were rumors on top of these reports that Nintendo then went ahead and started working on their own Donkey Kong project after having so much interest in this open world Donkey Kong that was cancelled. But midway through the Switch generation, a very interesting set of rumors came out. So here, as written on Nintendo Life, YouTuber Lonely Goomba has mentioned in the rumor passing on social media and other sources. By the way, other sources apparently includes me. I did hear about a Donkey Kong project a few years ago from someone that would have known that, and I wasn't the only person that talked about this, just for the record. There were others, like Nate the Hate, for example, a few years back, having brought up that there was some sort of Donkey Kong project. But anyways, it was discussed, but Nintendo Life can confirm that it has heard the same rumor from an independent and very trusted source. which would appear to lend this report some degree of legitimacy. However, our source claims that the game will be 2D or 2.5D if you prefer, and not 3D. So there were rumors coming from different places, and there was an uncertainty if it was going to be a 2D game, a 3D game. We are not sure. But looking at these rumors in hindsight years later, there's something very interesting that I think we can take away from this. The Super Mario Odyssey team, Nintendo EPD Group 8, has not come out with a fully fledged game from them since the release of Super Mario Odyssey in October of 2017. This is one of Nintendo's greatest developers, and throughout this entire Switch era, they have not released one game. They could have released 2 games of the scope of Mario Odyssey, if not more so, in this span of time, and we have not even seen one. Seriously, let's take a look at what they've been responsible for throughout the Switch era. The only game they made on their own was Super Mario Odyssey, came out in 2017. They had assisting and consulting for Mario Maker 2, 3D All-Stars made by Nerd and IQ, and 3D World plus Bowser's Fury was assisted by NST. So it isn't like the team has done absolutely nothing, but it's essentially just been co-development for other smaller Mario projects, and that's it. They could have seriously probably have made 2 whole-on new games during this era, but they haven't. And so I find this situation very interesting, because here we are in 2025, and we are expecting the release of the next big new 3D Mario by the holidays of this year to push the new console. As Nintendo likes to do with their new consoles, they make sure they have a new 3D Mario in that first year. And so yeah, they've probably been working on this Mario game, and that's a big deal. But because it's been so much time, I think it's reasonable to think that they may have been also working on something else at the same time, and for whatever reason, they never released it throughout the entire Switch era. And so when we look at these rumors about the Odyssey team working on a Donkey Kong project, it starts to make a little bit more sense. Especially when we account for another set of leaks that came out last year. So some of you may remember how I talked about a lot last year leading up to the June Direct of these different codename leaks from Midori. And Midori / Ryan from the Bronx, while this person may have a little bit of a shady history in terms of character, in terms of them reporting and leaking different things having to do with the industry, they've been one of the most reliable. And they put out a whole bunch of different code names for different Nintendo projects, and from these code names, we essentially knew about Super Mario Party Jamboree and The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. But there were more, including a code name for a new Mario game, SP Red, and another, Silver Star. There was a project at Nintendo with the title Silver Star. Super Mario Odyssey is Red Star, that's true. When asked if this project is still in development based on the wording, Midori replied, "It means it is unknown. What is happening with this project?" So there is an uncertainty surrounding this project Silver Star, but SP Red, which was also discussed, is believed to be the next Mario game. Basically, any sort of like 3D Mario game has Red for the code name because it has to do with Mario, and whatever else there is just kind of like to differentiate it. So Red Star, the star part, has to do with Odyssey. And the point is, we don't know what Silver Star is, but it suggests that it has something to do with Odyssey, but isn't quite Mario because Mario is red. Silver is for something else. Now, we do not know what Silver pertains to, but personally I have theorized that Silver might pertain to Donkey Kong, because Donkey Kong is one of the few Nintendo characters that might relate to Silver, in the sense that Donkey Kong does have the Super Donkey Kong mode from the country games where he is a Silver Kong. And then there's also the whole premise of Donkey Kong being a gorilla, and one of the more popular gorillas is the Silverback Gorilla. So if we're talking about devs coming up with a codename for their project having to do with Donkey Kong, but also based off the Mario Odyssey engine, then maybe they would call it Silver Star. So we have all these different reports that might fit together here. We have the reports of a canceled Donkey Kong project by Vicarious Visions that led to Nintendo perhaps working on their own Donkey Kong project. And then we have the Mario Odyssey team having come out with nothing throughout this entire Switch era, though there have been these rumors of them working on something relating to Donkey Kong. And then we have these different codename leaks coming from a reliable source that mention one about Silver Star that seems to suggest that there is a project based off Odyssey that doesn't quite have to do with Mario, which interestingly kind of fits with the other prior reports we've discussed here. But what happened to this project? Well, what if the Odyssey team, Nintendo EPD Group 8, has actually been working on 2 games at the same time, likely one that's been sat on for most of this time just being slightly tinkered, while the other one's probably been getting the bulk of the development as of late, but still, maybe both these games are about to finish around the same time to begin the Switch 2 generation. So let's now talk about how Nintendo has been treating Donkey Kong as of late. In the lead up to the Super Mario Bros. Movie, the one that just came out, there was a Nintendo Direct about the movie, and in it, Shigeru Miyamoto revealed a new look to Donkey Kong. And he said this when revealing this new look. For this movie, we seized the opportunity to give him a comical personality and design reminiscent of the original character. And so, looking at some of the original pieces of art for Donkey Kong, looking at the original Donkey Kong game, this is how Donkey Kong looked. He was kind of goofy, kind of comical, so I sort of see where they were going with this. But then taking a look at the original art for Super Mario Kart, the first Mario Kart game that came out on Super Nintendo, taking a look at Donkey Kong here, his design here is so different from any future Donkey Kong entry we have seen. Because Rare made the Donkey Kong Country games, they came up with a new look for Donkey Kong, and that has been the look for the last few decades until now. With the reveal of that little bit of Mario Kart for Switch 2 footage during the Switch 2 first look, we have a different look of Donkey Kong now. And this look of Donkey Kong is very similar to the new look of Donkey Kong we see in the Mario movie, and yes, it is reminiscent of the older designs of Donkey Kong that was more of a goofy, comical look. Just take a look at these animations here for Donkey Kong. Look how, as he's drifting and you see his different facial expressions, there's so much work put into that. And there's certainly a different feel here. This version of Donkey Kong is kind of goofy, which really goes back to his original design. But at the same time, there is a little bit of that modern feel to it. He does have that heft and bulk to him, that strength, and it's kind of funny when you see him fitting into a cart. But this is Mario Kart for Nintendo Switch 2. Why does seeing Donkey Kong here with this new look really matter? Well, the new Mario movie has been out for almost a couple years already. This Donkey Kong design was revealed more than 2 years ago. And yet, this is the first time we are seeing this new look of Donkey Kong in a game. There have been various Mario games coming out, including Mario Party, where Donkey Kong is a part of, and we have seen no sort of change to Donkey Kong's design until now for this Switch 2 Mario Kart game. I think there is an implication there. And that implication is that with the next generation of Nintendo, they are changing some of their designs, and this includes Donkey Kong. And I think this could be some insight into what the next generation of Donkey Kong may be. I think we should also note that we just saw the release for Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, and Nintendo is about to open the Donkey Kong expansion to Super Nintendo World. There is a lot of Donkey Kong happening right now, but there is no new game that has been announced yet. But as we've seen from Nintendo over the years, they do like to do a little bit of a build-up. One of the best examples is Pikmin. We saw Pikmin all throughout the Nintendo Park. We saw the release for Pikmin 3 Deluxe. We saw the release of the Pikmin mobile game, Pikmin Bloom, which was then featured in a Nintendo Direct after its release to further push the game and advertise it to Nintendo fans. And then all of this cross-marketing amounted to Pikmin 4, which is now the best-selling Pikmin game in the series and growing. Nintendo may be doing something very similar with Donkey Kong now, with Donkey Kong in the movie, with Miyamoto taking special time to point out Donkey Kong's new design in Nintendo Directs, with the release of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, with the Universal Park, with this new look of Donkey Kong going to the next generation for Switch 2. I think there is intention here, and when we factor all the stories of the past, of this Silver Star project, of this rumored Donkey Kong game being made by the Odyssey team, and Nintendo wanting to follow up the cancelled project by Vicarious Visions that was of an open world Donkey Kong game, I do think we're looking at something here. And I want to say that I don't think this is a 2D Donkey Kong game. I know there were some rumors a few years back that were saying it was 2D, some are suggesting 3D, it was uncertain at the time. But I just think if we're talking about a Donkey Kong game being made by the Mario Odyssey team, who, by the way, their first game as a team was actually Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, I just think this team that mostly makes 3D Mario projects likely is making another 3D Donkey Kong game. Although, as I just mentioned, given their history with also Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, it is possible this will be another 2D Donkey Kong game. But regardless, I think there's a really good chance that these rumors and reports do amount to something eventually on Switch 2. I think there is a Donkey Kong project that is not that far off, and I do think it has been worked on by the Mario Odyssey team. It would explain why we haven't seen any games from them throughout the entire Switch era, because they were working on a Donkey Kong project, but of course, with the Switch 2 on the way, they also had to make sure they had the next 3D Mario ready, and they just didn't see the right opportunity to release this Donkey Kong game, but now, it seems like they do, and based off everything we've been talking about, I think it's more likely a Switch 2 title, because of the whole idea is to start this new generation of Donkey Kong, and we're starting to see this shift with the character designs in Switch 2 games and not on Switch 1. I think it means they've been saving this game for Switch 2 as well. And so, yes, I expect to see a new Donkey Kong game announced relatively soon for Switch 2. That is my theory, based off all the different rumors and reports that have happened over the years. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.